I'm your host, Davida Shinsky, and you're listening to Live Without Limits, Dreams Come True with the Right Mindset. And today's presentation is titled Develop Your Authentic Leadership Presence with these 4 tips. There's no denying that great leaders are known for their great qualities and skills. However, not every leader can make other people feel better. In fact, some of them make others feel intimidated and anxious. The truth is that leadership requires a very wide set of skills, and not every leader out there can transform, inspire, motivate, and empower others in a positive way. Some of them lack certain traits that prevent them from making a difference and genuinely connecting with people. Now, here's the thing. You can learn to become a good leader, and good leaders have different qualities and what makes them a good leader. But that is not what we're going to be talking about today, but we want to help you understand what it means to be a good leader. However, not everyone and every leader can make other people feel better. In fact, some of them make others feel intimidated and anxious. The truth is that leadership requires a very wide set of skills, and not every leader out there can transform, inspire, motivate, and empower others in a positive way. Some of them lack certain traits that prevent them from making a difference and genuinely connecting with people. With great power comes great responsibility. Always remember that in leadership, it's not enough to show people that you are the leader or that you are in charge. It's also about influencing and directing your team in positive, feel good ways. You have to remind yourself of this power and utilize it for the greater good of all. In life, there's no such thing as a perfect leader. Leaders around the world also have flaws and shortcomings. Having said that, change is the only constant thing in this world, and you still have the opportunity to change, grow, and develop your authentic leadership presence as you go along. 4 ways to develop your authentic leadership presence. First one is self-awareness. The first step to developing your authentic leadership presence is self-awareness. And this is because if you're not aware of your flaws, then there is no way that you can work on them. Being self-aware simply involves knowing that you are grumpy, impatient, or whatever it is that you struggle with as a leader. This awareness helps you come to terms with what you need to work on in terms of character development. It can help you to come across as more genuine and relatable leader. The second one is self-acceptance. Some leaders spread negative vibes when they get upset or when things don't go their way also. Keep in mind that lashing out only leads to more undesirable behaviors and could backfire. To cultivate your leadership presence, you need to mind your attitude, accept your flaws, look at the brighter side of things, and try to be more human, knowing that other people have feelings and emotions also. Vulnerability is number 3. The next crucial step is to admit that you have flaws. As a leader, it might be hard to be vulnerable because people have this perception that leaders shouldn't fall, break down, or crumble into pieces. However, vulnerability is actually a strength, not a weakness. When you're vulnerable, you let your walls down. And this makes people easier to open up to you and trust you. The fourth one is self-improvement. And finally, a life of constant self-improvement needs to be adopted. When you want to improve your leadership skills, you're not afraid to ask the hard questions. Knowing the truth about how others perceive you can feel uncomfortable, but you'll eventually learn to embrace the negatives and work on them while strengthening and incorporating the positives even more. Great leaders are always learning. Developing your authentic leadership presence through these tips above can provide more room for improvement in your life. When done properly, you can go from being an unrelatable or feared leader to being someone people respect, idolize, and look up to. They would come to understand and even accept those shortcomings, admiring that you are trying your best to work on them, and they might better appreciate your personality and other lovely things about you and what you do. Now, what I'm going to talk about, this very last thing, is this, that when you look at politics, we often think of politicians as really great leaders, but here's the thing. The last 10 to 15 years, or rather, if we go back to the era at the beginning of the 20th century, what happened? We started seeing, especially in politics, the really good politicians who are really out there to help the public are not going to run because of how they treat politicians. If you look at Clinton, he was a good president because he cared about the people and he cared about seeing to it that they got what they needed. And when you look at the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans, prior to the changing of how politics was done, it used to be that the longer you were in the Senate or the Congress and the more seniority you had, you were able to do more things for your state. And it was called pork barrel politics. And then things changed. And now it's more about just going along with party lines. And just think about it. When Clinton was president, they couldn't get him on his policies. So what did they do? They got him on his personal life. And as far as I'm concerned, she knew from the get-go what he was like. But she was interested in politics, and she knew by being with Bill Clinton that she would have the power and the opportunity to work within politics. Hillary got where she is by being with him, and I don't know that he would ever have been president without her. And together they were a power play. Now, when you look at the Republicans, it's not just the conservative way of doing things, but they want to dictate to people how they should live their lives and dictate to them what they should believe. There is a reason that there's a separation of church and state. And no one should impose their religious beliefs on you. And that has become very much a part of politics today. And that's not what I call good leadership policy. So always remember, understand what it is to be a good leader and try to be one. Because if you're a good leader, if you care about the people that you're leading, then they're going to support you. But if you're doing it for any other reason, then what's going to happen? There's going to be a breakdown in communication, in relationships, and just the way things are being done. And you cannot have religion as a part of politics, even though they try to make it that way.